Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.
The Pan-African Weekly Roundup, your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe, with my brother, Lissafri Thomas from France. Lissafri Thomas is a freelance journalist. He's also a recipient of the Pan-African Pyramid Global Awards of 2024 cohort. He's a Pan-African. Mr. Lissafri, by last week, over 2,000 people had been killed in Lebanon by Israel. And among them is 127 innocent children and 261 innocent women, including the pregnant. Even the pregnant have not been spared. Over 42,000 Palestinians have so far been killed in Gaza and the West Bank by Israel, including women and children. All these are happening under the supervision of a cowboy called America, United States of America. They have self-appointed themselves as the international police. But then, Israel is cleansing, ethnic cleansing in Palestine, and now you see what is happening in Lebanon. America is tactfully quiet. They are not openly condemning what Israel is doing in Lebanon and Palestine, like they do.
They're supporting,
like they do with other countries. Like now, if you realize what they have been saying about Russia in Ukraine, no, they are not doing that. And just the other week, America came to Uganda and indicted only 4 police officers, very poor police officers, low ranks police officers. They indicted them, they sanctioned them. Why? Torture of Ugandans, torturing Ugandans. So on one side they show they care so much about everybody in the world. By the time they come to Uganda to sanction 4 low-ranking police officers, and they leave their commander, they want you to believe that actually they are doing their job. As they are doing that, Israel is killing, cleansing, massive killing of human beings. So, do you see some double standards there? That in Uganda, you can sanction police officers for alleged torture of human beings, which is also not correct. You are not supposed to do that. But when you compare what you are doing in Uganda, why are you not doing it in Israel?
Not only they're not condemning what the Israeli army is doing, but they're providing the weapons for them to do it. That's quite important also to add. Like, not only they staying silent, or they closing their eyes, or they pretend to see, don't see. They're providing the weapons to do it. So they're in full support of the agendas. Israel is using a lot of weapons in its wars, right? We know, like in Gaza, in now Lebanon, even before with the situation with Iran, that you know, like the anti-missile system that they have. They use a lot of ammunition. They use a lot of them. Some people have to sell it to them, right? They do not produce all of it themselves. So you have a series of countries that are talking, maybe, oh no, don't do this, don't do that. There's different, like, 2 standards between what they say and the fact that they continue to sell the weapons. So the weapons that Israel used for torture of Palestinians in the jails, they use for torture of the Lebanese people. Those are instruments that have been sold by America itself. But you're right, there's double standards. Here in Uganda, they prefer attack low-ranking policemen, and once again, it's like, no one is in favor of torture. We're not saying that we want to close our eyes on this, but what we're saying is that these double standards make them lack credibility. We cannot trust Americans when they do what they're currently doing, when they support a nation that has so much impunity in what they do, that they can even attack international army that are part of what they call the FINUS. So the United Nations have sent troops there since the last offensive of the Israeli in 2010. So those soldiers are there since 2010, right? They live in the zone where also Hezbollah is, and rather than attacking only the Hezbollah when they attack that zone, which they claim is their target, they said the Hezbollah is sending rockets to Israel, so we're gonna kill those guys and then we move out. That's what they say. They actually attack United Nations camp base, which constitute, according to international law, a war crime. This is a war crime. Two military organizations fighting each other, whether we like it or not, it's okay according to the international law. But attacking a mission that is here for peace, you need to understand that every single country in the world have voted in favor or against that peace missions. It is based on international army. Last time I was there myself in the region, it was Ghanaians that were there handling the situation between Hezbollah and Israel, right? Ghanaian soldiers, you know, African soldiers were there. Now those soldiers that have been attacked, I think they're from the Filipinos or Indonesia, somewhere in those Asian islands, but Israeli tank enter the base of the United Nations and hurt like many soldiers there. It shows not only the double standard of the Americans, but the impunity that Americans give to Israel. Because by providing and giving them weapons to attack United Nations soldiers, they themselves destroy international order. They destroy international order. Their generals and soldiers on the ground could be taken to war crime court of justice for such actions. Will they? Probably not. There is no single Israeli Tzahal army men that have been like the ambassador did here. Did you think the ambassador of the US in Israel said, no, don't do torture or this or that? They don't do that for Israel. They do it for Uganda, but they don't do it for Israelis. While there is a lot of evidence that there is war crime being committed in both Lebanon and Gaza, right? And if we want, and we have spoke of this 2 weeks ago, we said the US were helping a reform of the United Nations that says 2 African countries can stand in the Security Council, blah blah blah. We are, as Pan-Africans, we're in favor of reforming those institutions. We're in favor of multilateralism. We're in favor of making sure that everyone speaks to each other without the domination of one that imposes everything to the others. And in the case, what we observe is a satrapy, what we can call a satrapy. It's a small theaters of shadow where Americans are simply applying double standards to the words, to those that can be to those that are in the global south. They always try to discipline them, to police them, to tell you what to do, what not to do. Don't torture your people. Those 4 guys have tortured, we don't like them. Or this company have made business with Iran, we don't like that company. We're not going to give them tenders anymore, or things like this. So they apply some sort of moral stand. But then the places and the moment where we would like to see that morale, where we would like to see the American president saying, no, enough is enough, us as American, we can enter there, and we're going to make sure that Hezbollah, or there is so much they can do as Americans with the army, with the power of the economy, to stop and cut the productions of weapons or the use of weapons in Middle East. They don't. And why don't they do? It is because behind those American politicians, you have imperialists. We can call them the Falcons. You know, the Falcons are versus the Columns. The Columns are for peace, the Falcons are for wars, right? They know that a good war in Middle East serves the interest of the military industry in the US. So the more the US produce weapons, and remember the US are the #1 sellers of weapons in the entire world, right? US, yeah, #1.
That's their main job.
#2 is France. But #1
is your own country.
Yeah. So in France,
that's your main source of income.
I wouldn't say the main, but definitely it's a big source of incomes for certain regions of the country. And the President Macron have said, no, we're going to stop sending weapons to Israel. And you have just said that, and Benjamin Netanyahu came out and said, no, you can't do that, you guys are... He accused us, he accused the president of many things, and the president haven't even started to stop selling weapons, because the war is there since many months, so we all were asking ourselves, okay, of course we in favor of stopping selling weapons. We didn't even know there were French weapons in that thing. So who is providing the weapons? For, you remember my classic line that get me that award also last year, follow the money. Follow the money, and so we're in situations where we have a lot of people that have interest into a larger conflict in Middle East because they will be the one providing the weapons. Israel will buy weapons from the US, from France, from those NATO allies, right? And therefore they will those countries, those people will make money outside of a conflict. So situations where things get worse is in favor of certain Americans, Falcon advisors of Biden and Donald Trump as well. We have that situations where no one can tell anything to Israel. They don't listen to anyone anyway, but also people are not trying hard enough, right? And the fact that they attack the United Nations, the fact that they attack the peace mission of the United Nations is a message to all of us. It's a message to all of us that those people are not interested into peace, they are interested into what they call cutting the grass in the jungle. They've been saying that when it comes to Israel defense, their strategy, that's a quote from military intelligence, Israeli intelligence, they said, no, we are like a house in the jungle. We have to cut the grass around the house once in a while. And that's what they claim they're doing. And when they kill a woman that is pregnant, they will pretend that it's because the kids inside are a future terrorist, right? And you can imagine that if your mom is being killed and threatened by even inside the belly, you can already understand what Israel is doing. You know what shocked me the most in that conflict is that no one ever remind people that Hezbollah has been created after the invasion of Israel in Lebanon. So Israel in 1982 came to Lebanon, and Lebanon is 1982. One of the many times they went to Lebanon, and they went to Lebanon, and while in Lebanon, they decided to they did exactly what they're doing now. So like killing without impunity, like massacres, war crime. I think the term is war crime. We can use that term because it's a standard international terms, and we don't do war massacres. We don't do war crime here. Well, our army in Uganda has been in South Sudan, has been in Somalia, has been in the east of Congo. There's no war crime that we heard of, right? So why is it that when other nations are doing war crime, there's nothing is happening in the international justice system? So getting back to my point, who is providing the weapons? Who is making money outside of that? And more importantly, who are the actors? The actors, Israel, we know, created in 1946 with the Jews that were being genocided in Europe, and Hezbollah, created in 1982 after Israel invaded Lebanon, and the people start to organize themselves to make sure that they can feed themselves, they can support each other, and if Israel come back, they wouldn't find an empty space like it was before.
Created by who, Mr. Lissafri? In 1982.
It was
created by
the Shia community, the community people, the people themselves. The south of Lebanon hosts a strong Shia community, which is one branches of Islam, and those Shia are really poor in Lebanon. Those are the poorest part of the populations, right? They live in the south, and so they decided to organize themselves towards an organization called Hezbollah, and that organization then get militarized and get more powerful and stronger. And when Israel came back in 2010, they fight Israel so hard that Israel had to withdraw, right? And that's also why we see Israel coming with such a solid military strategy in the south of Lebanon, because they know Hezbollah is a really strong forces. We're speaking of the biggest paramilitary army in the world. So non-national army, that's the biggest one, and it's one of the biggest army in the whole region of Middle East. But what we fear as Pan-African is that the people that are making money outside of that war, the people that know there's impunity for war crime, will try to extend. When they will have finished the work in Lebanon, they will go and attack Iran. They will go on their nuclear programs. They will go on attacking the government of Iran, and it will be the fourth or the fifth violation of international law by Israel once again. And we do know that those international law are not really equal and balanced. We know that they favor the global north. They favor the countries that have mastered that organizations, right? So we're not saying the UN is perfect, but when even the UN is being attacked, when international law is being violated like this, what other solutions remain for the people?
The UN themselves
for themselves
have been bombed in Lebanon.
The UN themselves have seen their camp tank entering. Have we seen Uganda entering MONUSCO? You know, MONUSCO was the forces in the east of Congo. Have we seen Ugandan T-55 tank entering the things and tell the UN, no, like, stop doing this, or give us the prisoners you just got, or the food that you just distributed, stop distributing it? We don't see that. We don't see that. No other country, as far as I understand, since I remember in Ivory Coast there were a little bit of that at some point, but since long time the international law is not really respected by those army, but at least they pretend and they try to play with international law. At least they don't go openly like this, doing war crime, chilled, and even calling the United Nations Secretary General persona non grata in Israel.
I was coming on that one. Israel has now put sanctions.
Yes.
On the on Antonio Guterres.
Yes.
And he has now been declared persona non grata.
Persona non grata.
In Israel.
In Israel. How can you see, like, the way we're talking of a country that have zero interest into respecting international law, into making things works. What we observe is that they want to discipline people, they want to push them down. They will probably want to have a weak Lebanon, a weak Syria, and a weak Iran. If they have a weak Middle East, then they're happy. We need to remember that the Netanyahu and co. The trauma of losing, right? Netanyahu have lost his brother right here in Entebbe Airport. Entebbe International Airport. Yovi Netanyahu, if my memory is correct. Yuri or Yovi Netanyahu.
Let me look for it. Don't worry.
We will fact check that. He was killed trying to fight the freedom fighter of Palestine right here in Entebbe International Airport. So what we see is that Israel have fight aspiration of peace. Israel have fight aspirations of development for Palestinians since many generations. And the same story repeat itself. Your country is being destroyed. Your people are the best leadership is being killed. So it will take you 20 years to be back to who you were. It will take you 20 years to be back, like those colonialists used to do, trying to decapitate African leadership at colonial times, so people don't have the capacity to react. Israel is constantly killing, like, the leaders of freedom fighters, calling them terrorists, when what they call terrorists is simply people wanted to live in peace within their culture, with their people, right? And if you look at Lebanon, a really precise and interesting point. Lebanon is the exact opposite of Israel. You put the middle, you put Israel on one side and Lebanon the other side. Why? Because Lebanese have 12 different communities within such a small country. Lebanon is not bigger than maybe the western region of Uganda. That's the size of it. It's a small one, yeah. But he has welcomed many refugees since its creation in 1920.
Lebanon is as big as one part of Uganda. It's
really small.
Western Uganda.
I've been to Lebanon in one day. You go from up to south, north to south. In one, not even, like, when I say one day, half a day. So when, for instance, I was telling you, I was with those Ghanaian soldiers, the United Nations Ghanaian soldiers that were there, and then somewhere from Indonesia, to reach that point to Beirut, it's a 2.5 hours drive. And this is the southern point in the country. Beirut is middle north. So you're speaking of a very small country, but that very small country have welcomed everyone. This is the country in the world that have the highest percentage of refugee by populations, right? So especially because of the Syrian crisis. So a lot of Syrians live and are settled in Lebanon. When Israel attacked Palestine, a lot of Palestinians went where? They went to Lebanon. When Christians were being persecuted, Arab Christians, when they were being attacked in Iraq or in Iran, they went where? They went to Lebanon. When the Armenians were being killed at the beginning of the century by Turkish, they were genocide, Armenian genocide, they went where? They went to refuge in Lebanon. So Lebanon has been a place where people are refugees from authoritarian powers like the Israeli does. Lebanon is a place where an Armenian will be with a Syrian and know what they have in common, know their humanity. That's what Israel refused to see. Israel is refusing to see the humanities of Middle Eastern people. Israel is refusing to see the heterogeneity of Middle Eastern people. They just try to label them as terrorists that don't like Israel, and so therefore they don't need to understand them and to look at their aspiration and their dignity. A country like Lebanon hosting 12 official communities, those are the official ones, and dispatching power according to those communities. So you have a vice president for the Christians, you have a vice president for the Sunni, you have a vice president for the Shi'i. You have all those communities are represented, so the dialogue is happening. Sometimes it's a bit slow, sometimes they take some time to make decisions, that's for sure, but they take collective decisions because they have the experience of the civil war. So they do remember what it is to fight each other, and they prefer to sit with each other, organize elections, see who is the first community in the country, having dialogues with other communities and live with each other like this. That's what Israel is really destroying. They don't destroy Hezbollah. They destroy the country that have decided to live in diversity, that have decided to live with many people that are different and that accept their differences.
In that small country.
When Israel, which is a small country as well, only accept Jewish people, and now have even passed law for Arabs Israeli, because there is some people that have Arab origin in Israel, those people have less right now that Jewish Israeli, right? So what they try to do is a sort of apartheid and a state that only favor Jewish people. And their issue, personally, I have nothing against the idea of a state that favors Jewish people. I'm not against that. But what we want is also for them to understand that within Middle East, you need to accept the diversity of the people, and you need to create a state that is welcoming to a diversity of people that will enrich you, and not simply to the Jews all around the world that come back to Israel to become soldiers and to imagine. I'm thinking of the Israeli armies. They're 21, they're 22. They've been brainwashed, those soldiers, right? They do think that everyone in front of them is the enemy. Everyone in front of you is enemies. That's what they've been told since ever. So that's why they kill. But therefore they don't know how to make a difference between the human and the enemies. They don't know how to even hear what those people are telling them in terms of dignity, in terms of sovereignty. Why can Israel, if Israel keep invading Lebanon, how are Lebanese not going to organize resistance? If Israel keep destroying Palestinians in their territories, in their land, how Palestinians are not going to try to react and organize themselves? And the more they push the military button, the more they attack people, the more they bring weapons in Middle East, the least chance we have for peace and conversations. Because you don't make conversation with each other having weapons on each other like this. To bring peace, it comes with talk. People need to talk to each other. And what Israel is doing right now is to make sure that no one can talk to each other, even the UN itself, which role should be a referee roles, even the UN itself cannot be a referee between Lebanon and Israel anymore. And that's what we see, a disrespect of international law. When global south countries, they always have to respect the international law. In Venezuela, in Cuba, in Russia, all of the time people come, hey, you have to respect international law, you have to respect international law. Like, okay, but why is it that not everyone has to respect the international law?
It is one-way traffic.
One-way traffic. There's no line to come back.
One-way traffic. When you're talking about respect international human rights that America is telling you, at the same time America is operating a jail in Cuba called Guantanamo Bay. They are killing those they don't agree with. They are jailing them, they are torturing them. as they are doing that in Cuba, they are sanctioning 4 police officers in Uganda, but stop torturing people.
Let me tell you.
Meanwhile, even the training in Uganda by those officers to torture is given by Americans.
The Americans are both training the police forces and calling them the torture. A small example of torture in Guantanamo, because I think that's for people to visualize. Because some people have come out of Guantanamo as innocent after 10 years of trials and claiming their innocence, and they have told us what type of torture they went to. One of the most classic, one of the structural form of torture is that you put in a cage. The cage is under the sun. It's a 1 meter square cages, so you can't really move. You can stand, but you can't really move around, right? So you're staying there all day, all night. Zero intimacy. Like you are literally a cage in the middle of a yard, right? And so zero intimacy, and also you have the sun on you all the time. So some people end up being even blinded by the sun because the sun is high and heavy, and they can't cover themselves, right? Zero intimacy, zero capacity to pray, and all the time that you pray or things like this, they come and they try to beat the cage, right? So you make too much noise. All the time it's time for praying. They do dirty or disgusting things, so people can't pray, right? So there's this idea that they take out the dignity of people, and it's a form of torture that is, I don't know if we can call it like soft or anything, but it's a 24 hours one. You know, it's not like you go to a room of torture and then you sit and then you're being tortured physically. No, this torture is a daily one. So when you get interviewed, when finally you manage to go outside, go to the interview with the CIA guy, you want to tell him everything because you don't want to get back into your cage. Right, and so this is the type of torture like we have observed in Guantanamo, and is highly documented. And then the problem is the impunity. If you want international law to be respected, and we remind everyone listening that the United Nations headquarters is in New York City. New York City, that's right, in the US, and the United Nations is a project that was really highly pushed by Americans after the Second World War. President Roosevelt, if I'm not mistaken. Stalin didn't want it, but Roosevelt wanted it so hard that they ended up accepting. All of that for what? Is it to have a global order that is organized towards rules that apply to everyone, or is it a global order that is organized towards people fighting and the strongest win? That's what is happening.
Okay, maybe to remind you, the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu that was killed in Uganda on July 4th, 1976,
so Yuri or
was called Yonatan Netanyahu. Yonatan Netanyahu. He was killed on July 4th, 1976 in Entebbe there. That's the brother of Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, I wanted to bring that so that we are able to correct the narrative. Now, I want you to paint for me a clear picture of how Israel takes the UN Security Council to the extent that they have now, as of now, early morning, I saw news saying Antonio Guterres has been declared a non-persona grata. What is in the mind of the Israelis? If you could paint a picture for me, so to the extent that you can even like reach an extent of
yeah, it's even funny
calling Antonio Guterres
a persona non grata.
Persona non grata in the affairs of the world. The world has appointed him to do that job, but you are saying to begin with, you yourself don't step here. You yourself, you're not supposed to step here. The moment you step here, you'll be killed. Now, the entire world has hope in Guterres and his team that they will deliver peace in the world. But one country, Israel, has said, don't even step. If you think you are powerful, let me tell you, don't even step here. America
is looking at it like
America. Then tomorrow, for them to confuse Africa, they release a statement. We have sanctioned the 4 police officers in Uganda. Give me a picture. Point for me a picture. What is the mind
I
of...
just want to start by saying that, you know, a lot of people make jokes about Idi Amin, and they say Idi Amin was volatile or versatile, and a lot of people internationally, they accuse Idi Amin of a lot of things, right? Have you ever seen Idi Amin telling like the Secretary General of the United Nations to don't step a foot in Uganda? Never have done it. Never he said he's gonna do it. There's no such things. There's no such things, right? But for Israel, the pictures I want to paint is that it's been a long time that they're trying to fight Hezbollah. So they have an entire plan. The only thing that can disrupt that plan is if Hezbollah suddenly get new weapons, because they know exactly the weapons they have, and so if Hezbollah suddenly have new weapons, or if someone come and is powerful enough to impose peace. If someone come with an international aura to paint, to bring peace, right? So when you are so strong, your weapons are so strong, you are so confident, you're so arrogant, that your superiority is supreme. Because it's almost like racial in their mind. Like it's almost ethnic. It's like there's a superiority towards the other people of the region. They're stronger than them. They think they are, right? When some situation is like this, where one country feels so strong, he will not want any peace talk, because they know that they can kill all of them and move out in impunity, right? So when they tell the United Nations Secretary General to don't step a foot in Israel, what they really tell is whoever wants to open a dialogue of peace will fail. Whoever wants to come and organize peace between Lebanon and Israel, organize talk between Hezbollah and Sahel, whoever wants to do that will be declared persona non grata, will be declared an enemies. So they will go and do whatever they want for 3, 4, 5 months, whatever, how long they want. And after 5 months they will withdraw, or they will find might do like the Americans do in Haiti. They will find probably another army to come and maybe deal with what they didn't want to deal with. But they will do whatever they want until they decide to stop, and saying like no to peace right now, it's a way to say we are strong enough to kill all of you guys. Our army is doing it without negotiations. We come in, we destroy what we want, we have our own military objectives. Whatever you guys say, we can pretend to listen, so we can continue our actions. And right now what we have is a country that, yeah, do not apply a single international law, organize war crimes. Even the war is according to law, that war is totally illegal. But organize war crime, kill civilians, and want to push the narrative that they are doing it as a self-defense. And so when they see that the narrative is not working, that they're not doing self-defense, because when you attack UN nation base, you're not doing no self-defense. Those guys are peacekeepers.
You have no mission.
Peacekeepers. You attack peacekeepers that already they have everything. They identify them as peacekeepers. You go in and you attack them. What do you say? You say no peace and nothing outside of a victory of Israel. That's the whole thing. They don't call for nothing else. They don't call for nothing else. No peace.
And now America is seemingly behind that. And yet the UN peacekeepers is reported in America, US. America is behind what Israel is doing in Gaza, in West Bank, and in Lebanon. Now, by killing your own peacekeepers, what is Israel telling America? America is supporting Israel. What they are doing in Gaza, in West Bank, and in Lebanon. Weapons, yeah. But at the end of the day, they are also attacking your very own. In other words, they are also weakening you, America, alone.
They are,
because a powerful UN Security Council is a powerful America, because you are the guys. Now they are showing you that, to begin with, Guterres don't step here. America is quiet. So America is in the cast 24/7, because behind Israel is America, but then behind Guterres, Antonio, is America. Behind Antonio Guterres is America, and behind Israel is America. So
what will happen? what will happen. But even if you're right about the fact that the Americans, Antonio Guterres couldn't be Secretary General without American approval, that's really true.
Exactly.
Even in that condition, Antonio Guterres have said there is war crime. He has said we're going to open cases in International Criminal Court. He have tried to. No, he have said it. But he has zero mean of implementing it. He has a mission in Lebanon and he can't do anything because Americans are financing or the budget of the UN is highly dependent on Americans' subsidies. So even his own salary is dependent on this. And we need to be careful. We're not saying that we don't want international institutions to regulate this type of conflict. We do want that. That's what we want. We want peace and security for everyone in this planet, and not only the American allies. So we're not against the United Nations per se. We are against the United Nations as it is organized right now as a vehicle and a tool for American imperialism.
They are one-sided. It's somebody's tool.
It's imperialism. It's imperialism. And if you look at, I mean, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel, is himself an American. He has American passports. And a lot of the Jews that are Israelis, that are fighting in Israel right now, they also have other passports. They also are Americans or French or Switzerland or Germans. They have other passports, right? But especially those that sell weapons, those that organize. You have two big communities that are really extremely radical in Israel. The American Jews that finance and organize Israel and that make sure that Jews around the world can settle back to Israel. They can settle back, and they finance also the army. And then you have the Jews from Russia that came after the end of USSR, and those are the most radical components. So if you remember, in the 80s and 90s, you have Israelis that are in favor of peace. There is some left-sided that want peace, that claim peace, that leftists, right? But since that war started, we have almost heard no Israeli calling for peace. The only Israeli calling for peace are those that call for the release of the hostage in Gaza. So they say, let's liberate the hostage. We're okay for peace if they liberate the hostages, right? But those are the fathers and the mothers of people that lost their kids. So obviously they wouldn't argue anything else. So the situation is that within the Israeli society, people are more and more in favor of a strong imperialism in the region. People are more and more in favor of a strong Tzahal organizing and reorganizing the Middle East with the support of the Americans, right? And so that's also a really problematic thing, because us in Africa, we've seen that. We've seen settlers radicalizing. We've seen Kenyan settlers here in East Africa organizing themselves to kill and defeat the Mau Mau, right? We've seen settlers in South Africa organizing themselves to go to Bantustan and kill black people in their villages and things like this. We've seen French colonial settlers, the Pieds Noirs, organizing like high level of violence when they had to lose Algeria, right? So what we observe here is the radicalization of the entire society that direct its energy and power towards war and violence. And this is absolutely unacceptable, and this is one of the big components of Israel today, which is that both the government and the people are saying, yes, this war is legitimate, and whatever we do is legitimate because we're doing it on our name and no one will come to protect us. But that argument, you know, the arguments of the Israelis that because they were killed during the genocide during the Second World War, and then the Arabs army attacked them when they started Israel, no one will come to help them, so they have to do things themselves, right? And if you think about it, that's exactly what the president of Rwanda is also saying.
Paul Kagame.
Paul Kagame says, no, at the time we were being genocide, no one came to help us. So that gave us a right to do whatever we want in the future to defend ourselves, because we cannot believe that international law is going to protect ourselves. Great, okay. I can read that argument. Israelis saying that, Rwandans saying that. But what do you think the Lebanese and the Palestinians are going to say in the future? In the future, they're going to say the exact same thing. They will be like when we were being attacked by Israel, by those big weapons, by the Americans.
You were simply watching over.
The US Navy was simply watching over, so we should defend ourselves. And that's exactly what has happened in the regions. Israel kept attacking different places of Middle East, and all the time you see mushrooming some political and military movement, like such as Hezbollah, such as Hamas, such as also the Houthis. All the time they attack somewhere, and then people now therefore organize themselves against them, saying that no, there's nothing else we can do because people don't come to protect us. And what you do is slowly but surely you organize a political order where the most powerful just win and never have to
so
to
Israel and America are making the world become a rule that we say the fittest in the jungle.
The strongest of the survival of the fittest.
Is the survival for the fittest in the jungle. So it has become like a jungle rule.
Yeah.
A jungle rule.
But let's not forget that there is behind what they claim is a jungle, because that argument of jungle is also to say that Arabs and Muslims are not civilized, right? So it's a similar argument that people used to have at colonial time here. They would be saying that it's also, they lack civilization, they're not like us, they're not as strong as us, they're not as intelligent as us, so they deserve what's happening. The idea of a jungle is to say you are uncivilized, you are backward, we are the civilizations, right?
Yeah,
so the idea of that they use themselves, saying that they are a house in the middle of a jungle, like they are civilizations and they need to extend to Middle East. There is a strategy, and that strategy has been pushed by what I called earlier in this interview the Falcons, right? The Falcons of the American administration that says now we should have a larger Israel. Israel should take some part of Lebanon, Jordania, and even Syria, and so Israel should be so big that it could reorganize Middle East, right? And what they're really trying to do is to make sure that Israel extend within Middle East, because by Israel extending is the American influence that extend in the regions, right? That's what they think. They're a bit simplistic thinkers. It's more complicated than that. Israelis have their own agency, they have their own history. As I said, there's some leftist people, there's some right-wing people, there's some people that are okay to dialogue, and the majority that unfortunately do not want dialogues anymore. So the thing I hope, is that you and I are not going to be here sitting with each other in 2 weeks or 3 weeks from now trying to comment how Israel has attacked Iran, right? Because that would definitely reach a historical stage where they would reach a really unprecedented historical stage where they attack so far from home that the war can sparkle in different directions, right? Right now with Lebanon and Palestine, the unfortunate things I can tell you is that unfortunately we have seen this happening before. And why is it that it cannot be stopped? It's exactly because the United Nations have no say, because Americans are supporting whatever the government decide to do. And then the funny part is that 1 year ago I would have told you that the current Israeli government, the Americans don't like him too much because he's a bit too radical, and the Americans also sometimes like peace to bring their companies and rebuild, right? So we need to look at who is going to rebuild Gaza, who is going to rebuild the south of Lebanon, because there will be a lot of money into.
So they will be making some business for their companies.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if that ever happened in Uganda when if buildings were destroyed, who is going to come to rebuild them? With which money? Who are the investors, right? And so definitely, the more Arab nations condemn Israel, the more Americans know that their main ally become Israel, right? And so you have a sort of balances where the more Arab nations try to get autonomous, the more Israel is becoming an interesting tool for American Falcons. The radicals,
now America is fronting Israel. They become behind.
They literally gave them their best weapons to fight. Like remember they killed Hassan Nasrallah, which was the leader of Hezbollah since the creation of Hezbollah almost in '82, almost. It was the second chief, but yeah. So they killed historical figures. They killed the number 1. They killed the number 2, and they even killed recently the number 3 of the organizations, right? And while they're doing so, they claim victories. But what they don't understand is the more they kill people, the more there's Lebanon people that are angry and will come to fight them against tomorrow and after tomorrow and after tomorrow. So you see situations where it's almost like those people are satisfied with constant war. It's constant war, constant war, constant war, because they are not in the wars. Their sons and daughters are not in the wars. They're often studying in the US when other soldiers are there trying to fight their political agendas. It is a sad reality. As Pan-African, we look at that situation thinking that who could play the role of Israel playing right now in Africa? Who could be that vehicle of American interest and American extension in the continent the day they decide the continent is the place for them to do similar things? Right now, why is it that Middle East is so important? The majority of NATO countries get their petrol and energy from Middle East, gas and petrol. So obviously stabilizing the regions for a peace that is an American peace, help American company to dig that petrol and resell them around the world and make a lot of profit out of it. When that will be done, because one day petrol won't be as important, we need to remember all of that here in Africa, because we also have key minerals for tomorrow's economy, right? And one day it is possible that they try to use America tried to use one country like this, giving them some impunity into doing whatever they want if they open also markets for American companies and if they buy American weapons. And on that line, we are concerned about Kenya. We are concerned that Kenya could become such a country. They are not right now because mainly they send soldiers.
William
Ruto and Kenya as general, because now they have non-NATO ally, how do they call it?
Non-NATO ally.
Non-NATO ally.
You are not a member of NATO, but you are doing what members do.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing. So you are not a member of NATO, but you are an ally, and you are doing things that members do. Yeah. That's what.
And what have we seen? What do you think if the Kenyan does terrible things to Asian populations, right? Do you think the Americans are going to blame them or condemn them? No, they will stay quiet, right? So now it's happening in IT.
They are protected.
They are protected. Now it's happening in IT. 10 years from now, let's say, I don't know, I don't want to make a scenario, but let's say the situations change a bit, and then now Americans decide, no, what they have to do is to send Kenyan troops to Uganda or to Somalia or to Tanzania. Let's say Tanzania, because Tanzania, they have like really independent politics, you know, like they really do their own things. They deal with China when they want, Russia when they want. Thanks to Mwalimu Nyerere, he has established that line in Tanzania. Let's say now Tanzania are doing a socialist politics for their people. They put education for free. They kick out American companies to replace them by a national company with Tanzanian inside. And now America don't like that. They could potentially ask Kenya to send troops and give them rewards. So this idea that America use proxies in their wars. They use proxy in the war in Middle East. They use Israel. They use proxy in the war in the Caribbean against IT. They use proxy in their war. They could use proxy in their war in Africa tomorrow. And we really have to look at this with careful eyes, knowing that it will be easy for one country to fall into that American trap. And the antidote is what? Pan-Africanism, because the biggest we are, the stronger we are, the least we have to have those type of unequal relationship.
I understand, and you are rightly saying this. Amidst us is a Ruto, William Ruto, who is already showing signs of him being used as an entry point.
Yeah.
As an entry point into the East African region, into Africa, if they wish to.
If they wish to.
And then they use you, Ruto, to attack your own brothers.
Yeah.
You know, like, if you are in Haiti as a missionary, but the people you are trying to oppress are your own brothers and sisters, because Haitians are Africans.
They are truly Africans.
But you see now, Ruto is not serving the interests of humanity in Haiti, the Africans. No, he's serving the interests of that power broker called America and its cousins, to ensure that as they keep the Haitians under the cover, they have given leeway to the power brokers to do whatever they want to do, including stealing their wealth. under the cover of offering a hand in terms of safety of the people, but they are actually doing the opposite.
Let me give you a very plausible scenario for the future where they use an African country to push their own interest against an African, end up fighting each other when they're actually fighting for the Americans' godfather. In the future, so right now there's a lot of transformation towards cars, right? And there's more and more electronic cars, right?
Cars.
And so those electric cars need batteries, right?
Yes.
And right now China is ahead of America in building those batteries and making those functional electric cars, right? So China have had have had that strategy of making electronic cars and coming to sign partnership with DRC, for instance, to build roads against the mineral that they're going to use for building those cars. Right now, those cars are really cheap. So they try to sell them in the Americans market. But then Americans start to look at this as that's going to be a problem, because there's so much technology in those cars that now China will be able to know every movement of Americans moving inside a Chinese car, right? Because the GPS is connected. So they don't want that. They want Elon Musk to do that. They want American citizen, Americans company
to be the one to do that.
To be the one to do that, so they can collect the data and use them for their own intelligence and their own wants.
So these cars,
since they trace GPS, you.
There will be whoever is seated in that car, including the American. The Chinese will be able to get data.
As we speak, if you saw the last 4x4 by Elon Musk, I forgot its name. Maybe we can check that. But
Tesla.
The Tesla. But there's a 4x4, a new one.
Yes.
A big leader of Russia has bought one, and he put a big gigantic AK-47, big weapons on the back, right? And he was bragging that, hey, Elon Musk offered me this car, blah 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 blah. Elon Musk said, no, we didn't offer the car. You know what they did? They deactivated the car. The car is literally deactivated. He cannot even move. You cannot even physically move. You can push the car, it's not going to move. Like there's nothing you can do. Elon Musk decide whatever it's on or off, right? No, obviously his company is not just him as a person, but in that case it was him. So in that war, right? In that war, who is going to control new cars? Who is going to control the technology of those new cars? Who is going to be #1 power into selling those cars?
Wait a minute, my brother, that is the same technology that Russia has sold to Uganda. You know these digital number plates that have been launched in Uganda? That's the same technology. Russia, this now is being managed by Russia here. It is Russia that is going to be collecting our data. It's not managing the digital number plates in Uganda. Russia, it's a Russian company.
Yeah, we can't allow that.
Putin.
We can't allow those things.
So it means I am an American who is in Uganda using this car. His information is also going to be tracked down.
In Russia database.
But also as a country as Uganda, Putin now.
Yeah, you need to.
He's even going to decide that car must stop right there now. And it stops. All the information is going to be taken.
Yeah. So I don't know for the.
And then I've seen the president. Museveni is a good friend of Putin. I've seen Museveni promoting that digital number plate. It is going to solve our security issues. But this information is going to somebody
else. Maybe we should investigate that a bit deeper and expose that, because there's the key element of that data. But what I wanted to say is that, so I wanted to paint a picture that is highly possible. It is currently happening that Americans national bourgeoisie and the Chinese national bourgeoisie are competing to sell electronic cars all around the world, and he has a double advantage of collecting data and making a lot of money, right? They make a lot of money from selling cars. Cars is one of the big industry in the world, right? So they want to be #1 of that industry. Right now the US and Europe is #1 of the industry, but they want to become #1. In order to become #1, there's one thing they need to do: secure strategic minerals, right? And especially what they call terres rares.
What's that?
It's a really extremely rare minerals. You don't need that much of it. You need 1 gram per battery. You need a really small amount of it. It's not like lithium or coltan or cobalt where you need quite a huge amount. These are extremely rare minerals that are highly important for
manufacture of this battery.
Yeah, and those electronic cards that connect GPS with many informations, and to make sure that all the informations are being taken and read by the intelligence artificial they put in those cars. They need those elements. Tomorrow, America will be in front of a choice. whatever they ask African countries to buy their minerals, and they buy the right prices, so people can actually so the continent can develop itself, or they would be able to just do what they do with Israel and use one African country to fight against other countries, so it can organize it can destabilize the region, and the minerals can go back to the American companies or American economy, right? So we could definitely think of a situation on which America need to protect its industrial development plans in order to remain number one in the world against the Chinese, and use a country such as Kenya, or could be any other countries. Maybe it's not, well, I don't want to name people in the future, but they will need those minerals tomorrow. Will they use the same strategy that they're currently using in Middle East? It's highly possible, and if they do, we should be able to see it and say it. And that's why I've been calling for a Pan-African conference on African minerals, in which national states should not deal with minerals only. It should be a Pan-African organizations that decides who to sell and who not to sell, and to do it in such a way that it creates the value for here. If we tell both, if American and Chinese want to come and buy certain minerals that are in the east of Congo,
You
or
buy them at our terms.
our terms, our
Not at your
prices,
terms.
and our conditions, such as you give us the technology. Okay, you need that for your battery, great, but also we need battery. So what about you give us the batteries, we put on our engineers, and we can also develop our own batteries, our own systems, which is what the Chinese have done. The Chinese were really poor in technology 70s and 80s, but today they can make rockets, right? At the time where Mobutu was sending rockets from Congo, China were not sending a single rocket. Right, but today they can send rockets, and they have a lot of technology, and good for them. Good for them. No problem with that. We are happy to see them like develop that way, create engineers and all that. By the way, India develop more. There's more Indians that become engineer every year in India than in the rest of the world.
Hey, India has the biggest
number of engineers, per year.
Why is that so?
Because they invest into industrial development and new technologies. They
were very intentional
about developing new technology, because they know that that's the spear of the war. The spear of the war. You know, like Israel managed to kill Nasrallah not because of its own technology, but because of American technology. So sometimes you need to be, technology helps you to be ahead of your time. Like Hitler had some technology in his army that was solid, and so European army didn't have it, so he won on certain elements, right? So technology helps you to be securing your future and your national sovereignty.
Very good.
China have developed that, and so in that war we could be saying, okay, listen, as we're giving you these rare minerals for your battery and your development system, but in exchange, maybe you send us 20 of those engineers, and they teach us how to do it. They teach our engineers how to do it. So in the space of 15 to 10 years, maybe 20 years, our youth will be the one producing those things, and we will be competing against you. Today we sell you the minerals, and you are strong, but at least in exchange we get the technology, so we can also develop our own according to also local needs. We need a Pan-African organization to be the sole makers of who can buy and sell minerals, key minerals in this continent.
I think we should empower the Pan-African Pyramid to champion that.
The Pan-African Pyramid should be championing such projects, because that's the only way we can keep sovereignty, because otherwise they divide and play. They say, listen, we're opening a mine in Congo, we're going to bring 250 million. The minister is like, yeah, we want that mine, you know, it's going to create jobs. And then they come to you and say, yeah, but we found something in Zambia. And in Zambia they say we can do it for 200. And now the Congolese minister is like, shit, I have announced my people that I'm going to open a mine, and that there will be job creatings, and the youth are happy about that, and you know, there will be opportunity for them. Hey, now I need to maybe sell that mine for 200. So, and then they will go to see Zambia, and they will say, hey, we found also a mine in Congo, but now we want this mine. The Congolese are telling us it's 150. Okay. So Zambia is like, okay, we're gonna sell you 125. You know, and so basically by playing African countries against each other, they reduce prices, they reduce like impact. And so if we had an organization that is in charge of selling and buying, because we also want to buy some minerals for Africa itself, right? Selling and buying minerals for African development, then we will be way much stronger. When right now they play against each other and they open mines that will not be profitable for the continent.
Very good, very good. Comrade Lisafri Thomas, a veteran and freelance journalist from France, but also a recipient of the most prestigious Pan-African Pyramid Global Award of 2024 cohort or class. I wanted to end up in 3 minutes with a very simple analysis on Uganda's situation that we celebrated 62 years of independence. Comrade, compare Uganda's independence situation with France's independence. France is independent. Compare that with Uganda where you are now. When we talk about independence, are we really living in that situation of an independent and sovereign country called Uganda?
Listen, my sense is that we have a solid leadership that can play with those actors. Those actors cannot play with the leadership. Whatever Chinese or Americans like it, Museveni and the NRM are in power, and they have a lot of strings in the economy and in the country to maintain themselves in power. So that give a sense that the sovereignty is a bit higher than other African nations. So that's for the positive, right? On the negative side, Museveni can be as strong as he wants. He will never be as strong as China. There will never be 1.2 billion Ugandans. There is 1.2 billion Africans, but not 1.2 billion Ugandans. So structurally, those independence of 1960, 1962 made structurally African country weak. And by fighting Pan-African at that time, because Pan-African were quite strong to say, no, we need to unite.
Yeah,
so we need to, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania should come to independence together so we get stronger. So by weakening those projects, by weakening those type of politics, they also have created structural situations where even a strong leader like Museveni that is alive, that knows what he's doing, has to be really strategic on how to do things, because if a power like China, a power like America or United European Unions or Russia come to dictate its point of view, you can stand and say no, but until a certain point. You know what I mean? Because
you can always stretch to a certain point.
To a certain point.
Because you are one.
Because structurally, you just represent 45 million people, and that's 1/3 of Russia. This is not even 10% of the US, and not even 5%, or I don't even know for China or India, right? So what we need is we need a leadership that is solid enough to maneuver those big powers, but also a leadership that understands he cannot do it forever. He cannot do it forever, because Museveni one day will leave power and give it to someone else. And if that someone else is weak, he's gonna search for allies, like Tshisekedi is doing in Congo. He's gonna travel the world to search for allies, and now those allies will play their own agenda in the country, right? And that's a structural problem. It's not about personalities. It's not who is who. Museveni one day will leave, and what type of leadership will come after? He can't decide. If he's not there, he's not there, right? So we need to reach a point where we're turning towards a real Pan-African movement that allow us to play that big competitions, that allow us to look at Russia in the eyes, that allow us to look at China in the eyes and say, no, equal to equal. Because right now we say equal to equal, but we are 45 million, they're 1.2 billion. we make 450 billion GDP in Uganda. America is doing 15,000 billions. Like even if no America make no single dollars in this country, they won't feel anything. Same for China. Even if we cut every export to China, even if we don't buy anything from China, China won't feel it.
They won't feel you. But if they did the same.
But if Congo, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Kenya and Tanzania and Somalia and South Sudan, the East African community, if together they said no, when it comes to those minerals that we have,
we will sell
we will only sell to our brothers in Venezuela or in Cuba. because they've been helping us in the past and they develop such things, and so we think that's better for us to do that with them.
They'll feel the pinch. The Americans will feel the pinch.
Then we will feel the pinch. So even when we have like big companies like Total coming to negotiate for petrol, Total is making so much profit than already the Ugandan state is weakened.
Yeah.
But if Total negotiate with Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and Mozambique, and negotiate at the same time the gas of Mozambique and the petrol of the lake in Uganda, if that's one negotiation only, then we have much more chances to bring the agenda towards us, to impose our agenda rather than being a seen agenda being imposed. So to answer to that question of independence, first one, the project of Pan-Africanism is alive and needed more than ever. And second one, with strong leadership, we can be slightly better already than other
nations. That's why last week I supported General Muhoozi speaking
of his tweets.
Yeah, his tweets to the American ambassador.
The American ambassador, yeah.
I support him. And some of the guys I was discussing with were saying, but look, it's not right for now Muhoozi to speak like that, because suppose those guys stop giving us aid, what will happen? And I said, now, if you still think of that it is America giving us aid, not the other way around, then the independence is in vain. Because truthfully, it is Africa aiding the rest of the world, not the other way around. But they have made you believe that they're ones giving you aid.
Yeah. They made you believe that.
Yeah.
And
so they didn't even want Muhoozi. They think, hey, this man has annoyed America. They are so much bothered about how America feels about Muhoozi's tweet than how Muhoozi should feel about how America is interfering in its affairs.
That's true.
How they are treating Africans.
That's true.
How they are imposing their own ideals that if I do support LGBTQ in America, Africa should also do the same. They don't want to know how Muhoozi or Museveni feels about that. No, actually Ugandans are bothered about how the American ambassador feels about Muhoozi's tweet. Not how 47 million Ugandans should feel about the fact that America is trying to use all tactics to ensure that they impose homosexuality on you. The Ugandans are not bothered about that. No. And Muhoozi should feel so sorry. Sorry for annoying you with my tweet. This is just a tweet. How about you, who is physically injuring me physically by imposing things on me that I don't believe in? You know.
But we can also add to this that in order to have that development where we are strong enough to tell those people stop your bullshit, like we're doing right now. We also need to, because about the aid, what you were saying about the aid, right? They do give aid, in order to favor their own investment, their own company, their own things, right? So they get more from what they give.
That's the point.
And that's the point.
What they get from Africa is more than what they give.
But there's a but to that, which is us also now Pan-African looking at each other in the eyes. Introspection. If we refuse to pay taxes, like the traders of the city center of Kampala have done.
Kasita.
If we refuse to pay taxes, we allow Americans to subsidize this. If we refuse to pay, let's say, $1 million of taxes that should be paid according to the Ugandan's law, then the budget of Uganda has 1 million lacking. And now America is coming and say, no, listen, we're going to pay that $1 million. We're paying that $1 million, so you can pay your policeman, you can pay your army man, you can pay your teacher, whatever. We supported you. And then 2 months after, they come and then say, hey, you know, like these things of homosexuality, we would like you to push it a bit. We would like you to go down a bit. Go slow on it. What can you do? What can you do? If you have paid your tax and that $1 million come from your people, and your people do not want homosexuality or do want that law, then they can stand. But if they don't pay their taxes and we fight and we say, no, we don't want to pay taxes, then we can't be strong enough to also front those powers. So personally, as a foreigner here, I've seen like the willingness of people to gain power, to have a strong country that can say no, and Ugandans have understood the dynamics of the world, and that sometimes you have to say no, this is not for me, right? At least they have said that. But if at the same time you say that and then you don't pay your tax, then you open the door for such power to come and
give them an entry point.
Give them an entry point. So I know it's not really popular to say pay your taxes, but we should not forget that everyone that pays, most of the people that don't pay their taxes, they pay their rent. So they pay the...
They're paying indirectly.
Yeah, they pay indirectly. They pay someone. That someone is getting money. That someone already have money, and they choose to pay the rent before they pay their taxes. When you pay your taxes, you reinforce the power of the state that represents you. When you pay your rent, you reinforce the power of the guy that make you pay the rent.
Thank you very much. Now the problem here is people may be willing to pay taxes. The question is, when they pay taxes, what do the taxes do for the people in turn? That has been the challenge. I mean, I'm not going to invite your argument on that, but that has been one of the
arguments. I know.
Yes. You want me to pay taxes. When I pay them, what do they do for me? In America, in France, where you are, when you pay your taxes come back and look after you. You'll have free education. You'll have free medical care. You'll have good infrastructure, road infrastructure. Your country will defend itself very well from against external aggression or even internal. You'll have good policies. You'll have, everything will be in place. You have a railway system. You have a train system inside. Here they are just trying to say we are going to start next year.
We have a train system. We can go to Kampala to Muyango, right? I was
Muyanga.
Mukono. In Jinja also trains goes. There's a train that goes from the Lake Victoria to get free from Kisumu to Kampala. Those things have been done with someone's money. We need to make sure that someone's money is someone that aligns with the national politics and not aligned with his own personal interest. I understand the arguments, but I just hear that argument a lot, and I want to add that we cannot become a strong power. We cannot become more powerful if the money doesn't come from us. If the money comes from someone else, it will favor someone else.
He who pays the paper.
So we need to find solutions of those two problems.
He who pays the paper calls the tune.
Sankara used to say, Sankara used to say it. The end that gives you something is the end that governs you. Is the end that dictates. Right? If you wait for someone to give you food, that person will be able to dictate what you want. We don't want that situation.
Don't agonize.
Organize.
Don't agonize.
Organize.
What about the other one?
Amandla. Awe too.
Aluta.
Continua.
And Irumba.
Toma le savre.
Thank you so much.
Free your mind now. Be part of People's Pan-African Parliament, the Pan-African Pyramid Debate with your speaker, Andrew Irumba Katusabe.